Okay, during the break you were supposed to be filling these things in, so what's first? Anybody?
Get bowler name.
Get the bowler name. Somebody other than Nathan, what's next?
Get bowler date.
Get the bowling date. If you don't see a pattern here, you're not paying attention. Now I'm going to get score 1, get score 2, and get score 3. Do I have to do them in the same order I listed them over on the left? No. Why switch them around? There's really no reason. Then what? Then I have to do a bunch of calculations, but remember the easy thing is to skip down here a ways and say, now I'm going to display, guess I can make this bigger. Now I'm going to display the series and the average and the next bowling date. Oops. Now, I know that many of you haven't had Excel yet in Microsoft Office. If you're not terribly comfortable in Excel, we're going to be doing a whole lot more than what we're doing right now, and that's just typing stuff in. Excel just lets us easily put it into columns, have cells of data that we can line stuff up if we wish. Makes life a little easier. That's why I'm not using a Word document to do this. We've tried it in the past. But before I can display all this stuff, I have to calculate it, and if you did this first, I'm not terribly surprised. But remember, you don't have to be linear. I'm going to be watching your capitalization. I am going to be watching your spelling. What often happens is capitalization tends to change as we move from inputs to outputs for some reason. These inputs came over here, now they're capitalized differently. These came over to here and they're capitalized or spelled. Just pay attention. They shouldn't change. It's the same variables. These are variables, boxes that we're going to put numbers in, or dates or text in. Variables can hold all kinds of data. These are other boxes that will initially be empty, and then we're going to do the calculations and fill the boxes up. We'll stop calling them boxes and call them variables, because that's the programmer term for them. These are variables that we're going to fill in based on the inputs the user gives us. These are variables that our program is going to fill in based on calculations. At the end, we're going to show the user the results. I'm going to save that. And again, here I'm going to turn this off and just type in that this is my bowling design.xlsx. Or you can drop that list down and choose it. Either way. I'm not sure you even have to turn off that option. I should try it someday. But now up at the top it says Bowling Design XLSX, and I should be able to open it. Now while the recording is going, I'm not picking on Tyler, just using him as a great example. He opened my worksheet in the virtual machine before he installed LibreOffice. So what did it open in? WordPad. What a mess that turned into. Took all my click here's to enter your answer out. So he had to guess where the placeholders were. Oh my goodness. He struggled because he opened it in WordPad. Now that you have LibreOffice, those should open a lot better. Or if you really want it to look and work great, open it in Word 2013 at home. Or if you have Office 13, you can install here. In Rapids, my counterpart there had his students use one of their Office 2013 licenses on their virtual machine. I'm not going to make you do that. Those aren't my licenses to play with. If you wish, you can install Office 2013 on your virtual machine here. Or you can stick with LibreOffice for what we're doing. It should cover most of it. That one's saved. Let's close it. Okay, back to my notes here real quick. List the program's inputs, list the program's outputs. What must be done in the processing, not how. We're not going to say how we're going to get those inputs. We're not going to say how we're doing those calculations, just the fact that we need to do them. The details, I promise you, will come later. This is supposed to be relatively simple. you should be able to look at the big one-page program description that I give you. I don't think they're all quite that long, and find the inputs that need to be retrieved from the user. You should be able to look at that description and find the outputs. And in between is calculate the outputs, right? But it's a good start that will lead us into the next two phases. I'm going to open up my meters to yards design. Double click it, it'll probably ask me what you want to open that in, and I don't really care what it opens it in anymore. But LibreOffice is fast. Okay. And I'm going to open Visual Studio. And while that's grinding away, you don't have to follow on this one. I'm going to OneDrive because there's another file there that I want. Hope it's there. Here's Visual Studio. Empty project. Doing my meters to yards program now. What we're moving into phase 2 now. Any questions I should ask before I move on about IOPS? Yes, there should be one. Here's one more example. This one's a little more complicated. I want to do kind of a pay sheet thing, and I need the customer or the employee's name and their ID number and their job code and their salary. And I'm going to spit out their name and their ID and their withholdings and their payments. Why am I doing these again? Because I might expect that I might format this so it looks like a pay sheet and actually print it. So sometimes the inputs, this is called echoing. Did I change their name? Well, maybe I'll take Matt's advice and capitalize it right. But I know I didn't change their ID number in any way. It's called echoing. The user types it in, we echo it back out. Not all programs do that, actually most probably don't. So in this case, I get the name, get the ID, get the job code, get the salary. A couple blank lines there wouldn't hurt. Calculate, this is echoed, so I'm calculating the withholdings and I'm calculating the payment. And then spitting all that stuff out. That's another example. Here's one for you. I would make this a ticket, but I'm getting sick of grading tickets. Done 150 in the last week and a half, and I don't want any more tickets. So this is a recommendation. Please don't email it to me. Go home, try to create an IAP for this description. Okay? Try. Generate it in Excel, use the template, find the template, download it, create an IAP. If you do it now, then it won't be the first time when you do the real ones. And if you have questions, bring them to class. Otherwise, I will probably show you mine and we'll compare notes. So have that ready for next time or not. No points involved. Hopefully it doesn't take points to motivate you. Level 2 of the design. What we're trying to do here is give the user a visual of what their program is sort of going to look like. We in this class are not going to spend a lot of time in design in our screen prototypes making them pretty. If you wish, because that's just what you live for and it's a nice break from all this other stuff, then you can do background colors and add pictures and icons and etc. But we're going to keep it simple. So I'm going to create a new project. Haven't done this in a while. So I'm going to click up here and I'm going to create a new project. And I'm going to make sure it says C#, Windows application, going to my desktop. Cool. This is step 1 of the 6-step process. By the way, I just updated my notes online. I added those 6 steps to my notes. So if you can't find those 6 steps, they're now in the online version of the notes. Step 1 says, give this a good name, like meters to yards. I don't recommend spaces in your solution project names. I think it's acceptable. I think it works in Visual Studio, but we don't put spaces in anything else. Only in your Windows file names. There you can put spaces. Okay. Step 2 says, remember to change the name of the form. Now you can do this later. If you don't want to do, I'm not going to be checking this. I can't, as it turns out. You'll see why. I can't check to see if you renamed the form. But those 6 steps, you're going to have to do them sooner or later. Maybe this is where you get some practice. And that just means you won't have to do those 6 steps when you get to Unit 4, because you already did them. Step 2 says, change the name of this file. It says Form 1 CS. I'm going to take out the Form 1. I've had 2 people remove the CS, and your project is trash at that point. FRM prefix. Meters to yards sounds good. I don't have to get too creative and come up with a different name for my form and my project, and they're often very much the same. Press enter. The reason, by the way, your project is trash if you leave the .cs off of there is because the error that gets generated, I don't recognize it. I don't know what it means when I look at it. After he trashed his project, started over again and did it right, then went, oh, Jesus, should have just renamed it. It probably would have come back to life. But I don't recognize that error. It's a bizarre one, and of course, it's just as explanatory as all the other error messages we've seen so far. So it didn't help me any. So make sure you leave the .cs on there. If you click on your form, the form should be renamed as well. Remember, if you rename the file right away, it will give the form the exact same name, and there's one checkbox that you don't have to worry about. I believe step 3, I forget the order, but the next 2 are change the start position to center screen and change the text to something appropriate. The title bar text, meters to yards with spaces now. This is something the user sees. Humans like spaces between their words. It's just us programmers, non-humans, who camelback stuff and don't put spaces between things. Anything the user sees, you should be putting spaces in. Press enter, and that's done. The last 2 steps are change the icons. I'm not going to do that, because I don't have any handy, and I'm not going to take the time. You don't have to at this stage. When you actually start building your program, you might want to take care of those 2 things. If you want to, you may. Go out and find a good icon and add it to the program and to the project, but I'm not going to do it here. All right, here's my meters to yards program. I need some way for the user to enter the meters. Well, I'm going to use a control. So let's take a look. I downloaded a little program here someplace. You don't have to follow. Got way too many windows going. Here's a little. You're not going to let me run it? Why not? Windows Smart Screen prevented an unrecognized app from starting. Running this app might put your PC at risk. Will you shut up and let me run my program? What is that?
I get it when I try to.
Oh, there, I have my own homework now. Figure out how to get rid of that thing. Because this is an executable of a program.
If you hit show more, you can run it anyways.
If I do what?
If you hit show more, you can run it anyways.
Oh, okay. It's annoying. There's got to be a way to get rid of that. Okay, this is just a little app that I built to show you different tools, and these aren't even all of them, I just realized, but these are the ones that are in my notes. What we're going to figure out now in this level of design is what kind of tools should I use to collect information from the user so that it's the most effective way to collect information. Make it easy on the user, maybe prevent errors. And these are some of the different kinds of tools that are available in your toolbox. There are others as well. Okay. Now before I do that, I don't want to get too far ahead here. What we can also do here is think a little bit more about the user interface guidelines. Microsoft actually has some guidelines for what you should do when you're building forms like this. Kind of the Microsoft rules. You're not restricted to them. It doesn't hurt to know what some of them are. We've already talked about dark text on a light background. Default fonts, don't get too crazy. When you're building forms, if you want users to enter data, either work your way down the page or across and then down. I get some forms where they expect me to type something here, then there, then here, then there, then over here, and people just don't think that way. Doesn't mean they have to enter them down the page, but that's a good way to set things up. Tab order will mean more to you in Unit 4. Tooltips will mean more in Unit 4. Keyboard access keys in Unit 4. We can group stuff. My example has groups. This is a group box. And it's got radio buttons inside. Radio buttons we're going to learn how to use in Unit 5. If you try to use these radio buttons in these first Unit 4 programs, they're not going to fit very well. Because in order to figure out which radio button is clicked, you got to ask a question. And that's decision processing. That's Unit 5. So for this unit, these won't be appropriate. Same thing with list boxes. Who's your favorite instructor? Volker, Gall, Volker, Mr. Gall, or Catherine Dorr? Narrows it down. All right. Which one did he click? Probably going to take an if statement to figure that out, a decision. Text boxes, that's a text box. We can type stuff in them. We can backspace, I think I showed you some of these, and do all kinds of things. Here's a checkbox, another decision. Did they click it or didn't they? Unit 5. Here's a combo box. Most of these we're going to use in Unit 5. Here's a date picker. This is cool. Visual Studio has the best date picker out there, as far as I'm concerned. Drop it down and you can change, and you can click on this and change years and change months and do all kinds of things very, very quickly. Pick a date, go back to today. Lots of powerful stuff in that date picker. I think the technical term is a date time picker, but where do you pick the time here? You see it? I don't. Can you configure it to pick the time? Yeah, and then it gets confusing. Right now it's a great date picker, but I don't use it for picking times. It's not very good at that. So those are some sample kinds of input. There's one that's missing here. Go back to Visual Studio. And here's my toolbox. And all those things that I just showed you are under Common Controls, except for the group box. It's a container, so it hides in here. But everything else is a common control. Buttons and date pickers and combo boxes and list boxes. And there were labels on there, right? Radio buttons, there's all kinds of stuff. The one I didn't show you that I'm going to add to that a little later is the numeric up-down. Where's that? There it is. It's one of those little things where you can type in a number or you can click the arrows to go up and down. They're really great if you've got a small set of numbers. I want to go from 0 to 10. Click, 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 or you can type it. Most users don't know they can type. And so if they want to enter in 100, they go click, 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 click. Then they get tired and they hold it until it goes spinning up to 100. So I like it for small sets of numbers, but for my meters to yards program, I think the best input is just let the user type that number. So I'm going to add a text box, and you can follow now onto my form. Find the text box, double click it, and then park it the Microsoft approved distance from the top, but I need to add a label to the beginning of it to describe it. Should I give that thing a name? Sooner or later, yes, because the user is going to enter it and we're going to take the information out of it, and we have to be able to refer to it by name to get the information out. We're building a prototype. It doesn't have to work. It shouldn't work. If it works, that means you already wrote the code. We're designing right now. We're only in level 2. I'm not going to give it a name here. I'm going to do that later. I'm going to save time. I'm just going to whip out a prototype real quick here. I need a label. And this label should tell the user what I want to do. I might say enter the meters to convert. Ooh, that's pretty elaborate. To convert, colon. The Microsoft standard said your label, notice the pink line, that means the text in the box will line up with my label. This better be spelled right, spaced. The Microsoft standard says your labels should be sentence case, meaning the first word is capitalized, but every word thereafter is lowercase. Some of you are going to give me title case where every word is capitalized. That's perfectly fine. This is the Microsoft standard. Doesn't mean we have to live with it. I will try, and I will ask you to be consistent. If one label is sentence case, then they should all be sentence case. If they're one title case, then they should all be. Don't give them to me all uppercase. That's just wrong. I could simplify this and just say meters, and hope they can figure out they're supposed to type in the box. Most of them can't. So there's my input for this simple program. I hate to call it toolbox now because I'm making my toolbox, but that means this toolbox, not the same thing. What else do I need? I need an output. So first thing I'm going to do is steal my label. And I discovered something, by the way, Mac users. If you want to copy that, I taught you, you can control drag it, right? But on a Mac, you had to get fancy and add the command key. But then when you let go of the command key, the Windows menu pops up. I discovered that if you point to this, hold the command key down first, then the control key, then drag, it will make a copy. And when you let go, it doesn't open up your start menu. Oh, what a pain. I also discovered that in the virtual machine, there's a way to say ignore the Mac keyboard stuff. I haven't got that to work quite right yet. Still wants me to command drag. I don't want that label. I'm going to change it and say this is the equivalent number of yards. That's pretty elaborate. You make elaborate labels. I hope you spelled them right. Or you could just say yards. Most programs, the input description is first name, not enter your first. It's just first name, last name, phone number. People know what to do with those. How do we do output? Anybody remember? I did describe it briefly. Where do I show my result? How do I show my results? In something the user can't change. My program calculates the yards. What do we use to show the user something they can't change? A label. What? Yes, a label. So let's grab a label. I'm going to double click it and get my toolbox out of the way. If I'd been smart, I would have pinned that because I'm designing right now. So I guess it's not too late to be smart. Pin it. Here's my label, and I want it to be out here. Now, here's where you need to be careful. This has already happened to 3 or 4 people. They don't want the label 3 in there, so they take it out. Don't follow. They come down here and they say, I don't want you. They take that out. Then they go, oh, wait, I got to do something here. And now, oh my God, where's my label? It's blank. You can't see it. If you're smart, you drag a box because it's got to be there someplace. And I think I got it, but I also got that one about over here. Nope, still got them both. It's a pain. Here's the solution. You use this list. Remember, at the top of your properties is a list of all the objects on your form. Which one is it? Probably the third one, right? Because it's the third one I created. So I click on that, and oh, there it is. We had one student who did that. We couldn't see it. So I said, type Volker in it, in the label. Still couldn't see it. Somehow she had a big, huge monster form, put it out here, and then shrunk the form. The text box stayed out here. It was out in invisible space, but it was there. And so what we did is we went to the location right here, changed it to 00, which parks it in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. Then we deleted it. So be careful when you wipe the text out. Before you wipe the text out, change its auto size to false. Go ahead and follow now. Change the auto size to false. Now it's a little easier to hit that label because it's significantly bigger, but also add a single border to it. I mentioned this when we were talking about labels, that we are going to display our outputs in a single border label. Now I'm going to line that up with my pink lines. There we go. Actually, maybe I want to change the text alignment here. Not that it matters much just yet, but I'm going to change the text alignment to left middle. Then the pink changes a little bit. Oops, I'm resizing it. How big do I want that to be? Maybe the same size as that one. Does it matter? Well, if you show a prototype to a user and they're all different sizes and they're not lined up real good, they're not going to be real impressed with your prototype. They're going to get all distracted by the ugliness of it and not see that, yes, all my inputs and all my outputs are there. So what I'm going to do is make this the master. Remember, you shift-click to select multiples. Make the text box the master, and then go to Format, make the same size both. There. Now it's the same height and the same width. Now I just make the pink line line up and I'm in good shape. Line this one up with that one. Oh, doesn't that look wonderful? It's an opinion, right? Doesn't it look wonderful? Yeah, it looks kind of boring. It's a prototype. You can promise the user I will spruce that up and add all kinds of things to it to make it look better. What else do we need? Got my inputs, got my outputs.
Button for the user to click so that they can convert.
Okay, good. What he said is I need a button so the user knows what to click, right? Or how do we know they're done? It is possible in Visual Studio, as soon as they start typing to show answers, that freaks people out. I'm not done yet, stop showing me stuff. They don't want that. If you're writing an app for yourself and you like that, go for it, because you type in a 2 and it converts it, and then you type in a 1 and it converts that, and then you take the 1 out and it converts the 2 again. That's a little annoying. So we're going to add buttons. So let's add a button. And I'm just going to use a generic old button. Do I want to give it a name? Could. Or we'll do it later. Scroll down, and I'm going to change its text because the user doesn't see that. And this is going to be my calculate button. Calculate. That's another one that gets spelled wrong a lot. But that's not the only one. I'm going to tell you in advance that you're also going to have a clear button, because if the user wants to start over, instead of wiping this out, which doesn't wipe out the label, by the way, we're going to create a clear button that's going to wipe both of those out. So I'm simply going to Command Control drag that button, and Volker said we need an exit button, so one more time. Now I got 3 buttons. Second one is clear. Last one is exit. Here's a power tip. Watch up here. Watch. Save you billionths of a second. This is my clear button. I haven't pressed enter yet. Don't give up on me. I'm going to click on calculate. Notice it changes it now. I'm not moving my mouse. No magic. I'm just going to type EX. Notice where it's going? In the text property, because that's the last property that was selected. So you don't have to do all this mousing back and forth. Click the first button, calculate. Click the second button, clear. Click the next button, exit, without going over into the properties list at all, as long as the text is the selected one. And I'm going to line those up a little bit. Microsoft approved distance apart. And that one lines up on the right with those. Could resize my form. Beauteous. There we go. Now, what do we do with that? I'm going to run it. You can run it. Because what I don't want to have to do when I go talk to my user is go and have Visual Studio installed on my machine that I'm doing my demo or my design review on. I just want to be able to bring up my spreadsheet and have that be the entire design. So what I'm going to do is take a screen snapshot of the running version of this program, and I'm going to paste it into my spreadsheet. And so are you. How do we do screen snapshots? You could do a print screen, but then I get everything. I just want this little box. Go to your start menu. You might have to go to all programs, and then, come on, accessories. You're going to be doing this off, where's accessories? Windows accessories. You're going to be doing this often enough, you might want to make a shortcut. Accessories, snipping tool. Everybody with me? Say no. Tyler, one more time. I went to the start menu in Windows. All programs, Windows accessories. Click that. Inside there, you will find the snipping tool. Launch it, and it looks like this. There is a way to pin that. You might be able to come down here and right-click and say pin this to the taskbar, but that puts it down here. That's not bad because you're going to be using it quite a bit. But now I have my snipping tool. Where's my mouse? There we go. Here's my snipping tool. I say I want a new snip. And now just drag a box. Notice I was smart. I put my little window in an empty white space so I don't have any extra stuff around it. And then you just drag a box. There it is. Copy it to the clipboard. That's this button. Or Control C probably works. Copy it, and then I'm going back to my design. Here it is. Switching to the screen layout tab, maybe a click in B2 so it's not stuck in the upper left, and paste. Now I can say, here's what I think your inputs and outputs are. Here's what I think the screen's going to look like. What do you think? And they say, well, what does the clear button do? And I can tell them, can you show me? No, this is just a picture of what it's going to look like. Can you change the background color? Sure. What background color would you like? Take a little side note. Can you put a picture on it? Yes. You have one in mind? Our company logo. Can you send me that? On and on and on. Or you can tell them I'm going to spruce this up later. There'll be icons on here to make them a little friendlier looking, and so on. But it's a nice design tool. And now I'm going to save this again so that it looks good. I'm going to do the screen layout for years to days for you, because guess what it looks like? That. Enter the years to convert, equivalent number of days, count, clear, exit. It looks just like that. So we don't need to do it again. Let's save and close this design. I can close or minimize my snipping tool to get it out of the way, and I can close Visual Studio. I do not recommend you throw this design away. In Unit 4, we're going to start from scratch just because you're going to need to start from scratch one more time. We can go through the 6 steps one more time. But for you, this is a great start. You can pick up where you left off. So just keep this around someplace. It should be, in this case, on your desktop. Right there, Meters to Yards project. Okay?
Mine wouldn't copy paste. Like it just kind of with words. Easier to listen to that.
Okay, hang on a second. Okay, to do another example of a screen layout, I'm going to do the bowling program, and let's just kind of review here. The reason I have this up is because it tells me what inputs I need. Text box. Anything that's got the word date on it, that's a date picker. If it's an input, this is a very common mistake. It's an input, it's a date picker. Score 1, 2, and 3. Numeric up, down, maybe, but bowling scores can range from 50 to 300. If the user's going to type anyways, just give them a text box. We're not saving anything by putting them in a numeric up, down. What about my outputs? What am I going to use for series? Trick question. Label. What am I going to use for average? Label. What am I going to use for the next bowling date? Label. I don't want them changing it. If you put a date picker there, they can change it. All your outputs go into labels with borders. So there's our plan, and we can kind of lay it out that way. So one more time, Visual Studio, brand new. New project. Call it bowling, make sure it goes to your desktop. And now I'm going to do my step 1, 2, 3, 4 of 6 so I don't forget all this stuff. I already did 1. I gave it a good name in the Windows, no Windows Application Designer. Now I change the form name. Click the form name, change it down here. Leave the CS alone. FRM, bowling. Good. Click on the form. FRM bowling, automatic. That's nice. Start position, center of the screen. Text, bowling. And I'll find bowling icons and bowling pins and stuff later. Mike? Joe?
The first part, you renamed it.
Yes? Here? I click up there and then I come down here where it says file name and rename it. And center screen and change the text that appears in the title bar. Okay, now my design said first thing I need is a bowler name, and so I'm just gonna put the label in there, double click, there we go. Change the text to bowler name. Notice I'm not using the enter the bowler name here technique this time. Enter, I should probably move that to Microsoft approved distance. There it is, 2 little ticks on the top and the left. Microsoft approved distance from the edge of the form. If you think that's too close to the top, then move it. I didn't name the label. I'm never going to refer to that in code. Plus, it's a prototype. I don't expect to name any of these. I don't expect you to name any of these things. What you're going to turn into me, remember the previous screen where it had just a screen snapshot? That's what you're going to turn into me. How am I going to know if you named things, or I can tell you didn't put the icon on, but I'm not asking you to. But the title ought to be there so they can see that, because if it says Form 1, what are they going to ask you in the prototype? Why does it say Form 1? We're going to have 10 forms? Or why is it? It's just aggravating. So we'll give them a nice title up here. How do I get the bowler's name? Text box. Double click the text box. There it is. Park it with the pink line and maybe even stretch it a little bit so we got room for nice long names. Now we're going to review our screen layout skills. I need 3 more text boxes for score 1, 2, and 3, and 3 labels to go with them. So the first thing I'm going to do, use a little strategy. I'm going to drag a box that touches both of those things. And now I'm going to Command Control, drag those, and put a little space just for visual effect. I'm going to change this to score 1 with a space now. And I'm going to shrink this one down a little bit because bowling scores, what's the maximum bowling score? 300, so that's only like 3 characters. I don't need this big old long box. So text for the label is score 1, colon. Microsoft Standard says your input labels should have colons after them, but that's Microsoft. As long as you're consistent, I don't care. And I'm going to shrink this down, and I'm going to say text align center. That way, whatever they type will be in the center of the box. I don't often do that for my inputs, but this one won't be too bad. It doesn't have a text align center. Why not? Size, tab, oh, there it is, missed it. Text align center. Can't see it here, but I'm just kind of helping myself out for the future. Again, for your prototypes, as long as it looks good, I don't care about anything else. Now I need 2 more of those, right? Drag a box. I can control drag, or I can control copy and then paste 2 times. I'm going to Command Control Drag, Command Control Drag. Change this to score 2 and the other one to score 3, and I'm done, at least with my inputs. If you don't learn these techniques, you can survive, right? You can build this form, putting 1 text box and 1 label on the form at a time. Your assignments will take you longer, that's all. Oops, forgot my date picker. No problem. Drag a box around all 3 of these. You can use the arrow keys. Down, 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 down. That's good. Or you could have dragged them. Either way. Need another label. I like to control drag, even on a Mac where I have to hold the stupid command key down. Bowling date. and we need a date time picker. So I'll go to the toolbox and double click the picker. Whew, that's pretty long. The reason it's so long is because it's in this format with a Thursday and all that. And you know what? For my bowling, I think I want that. It'll remind the bowler that you bowled on Tuesday nights. Or if nothing else, remind the league secretary that this is one for the Tuesday night league. But it doesn't fit in my form, so I make that a little bigger. I'm anal, so I'm going to make the text box the same size. Awesome. Now I need 1, 2, 3 outputs. Series, average, next bowling date. They're all labels. Make one, auto size false, border style single, take the text out, then just copy it 3 times because they'll already have the border where they'll be missing the text and all that stuff. So you just kind of do it on your own. You don't necessarily have to mimic me here. I think you can handle that, but I'm going to do it and you follow along best you can. I double click the label, auto size false, border style single. I'm going to make them the same height as my text boxes. Format, make same size height. And then I can take the text out. I also like these aligned to the middle. So in this case, I'm going to do middle left. We might change it later. And again, that really doesn't matter much here. The average is not going to be much bigger than the scores. That's actually the series. Oh, I double clicked, dummy. Don't undo here, I'll lose all my labels. Just delete it and put up with the errors that I'm going to get. When I switch back to design, it says, oh my God, what did you do? Double click the error, please. That one, there we go. There's the line, delete. Don't you double click. You won't have to put up with this stuff. Whew. And now I'm going to copy those. If you look up there for just a second, now I got a problem because my next bowling date label is so long that it doesn't fit, and I like all my inputs to line up on the left, so because I'm anal, I'm not going to right arrow key those over until there's a little bit of room. Okay, pause. What do we still need? Watch up here. Stop. You can finish in a minute, I'll give you time, or you can just steal mine later. What else do I still need? Buttons. What buttons? Calc, clear, exit. Unit 4, calc, clear, exit. Unit 5, calc, clear, exit. Takes a while for those buttons go away. Here's what I want you to watch. I'm going to cheat. 3 buttons is not hard to make, right? But I could go to my meters to yards program. I'm going to open it up. If you open it with the SLN, I now have 2 Visual Studio folder or files up at the same time. Highlight. Copy, close, paste, put them where I want them, done. Oh. And you can go into the code and copy from there, and you can steal anything by having 2 open at the same time. Resize it. Now watch up here one more time. I'm going to run it. Uh-oh, wait a minute. If I run it, I got no white space to put that in, so I'm going to make it a little bigger. And maybe I'll even close the toolbox. Now I got some nice white space here. This is interesting. Look where the cursor is blinking. It's crazy. Unit 4, we'll fix it. Snipping tool. Give me a new one. Copy. And hopefully I'll be able to paste. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with yours. That's weird. Now I save this, and I'm ready for level 3 design. I would like you to finish yours. Shouldn't take terribly long. If you have trouble or you want to say, Volker, help, how did you copy those? How did you do whatever? Ask me. Okay. I'm going to stop the recording, and then the last hour is for your lab to work on your Unit 2 assignments if you wish, or if you want, you're done, you can get warmed up on Unit 3. Not assigned, but they're there if you want them. I will put all this stuff on SkyDrive.